where we make local matter. Hey, you know, the economy is so bad.
Yeah.
You're supposed to go, how bad is it?
Oh, how bad is that, David?
We didn't know.
Oh, man. We got to start having these production meetings. How bad is the economy? The economy is so bad that I got a pre-declined credit card in the mail.
That's funny.
The economy is so bad that CEOs are now out playing miniature golf.
And there must be another one. There must be a third.
How bad is the economy, you ask?
Yes, David.
The economy is so bad that Angelina Jolie adopted a child from America.
That's very. I like that.
The economy is so bad that a picture is now only worth 200 words. We got to throw in a little bad pennies here. Welcome, Chief DeMaio, coming in from Clinton PD. Little bad pennies here.
Yeah. That was nice. You know, I'm a big fan of the dad joke, so, and I would have not missed a beat. I'm telling you, I'm your wingman, Dave. I'm your wingman. I would have never left you hanging like that. I would have said, how bad is it?
Exactly.
I mean,
I know.
Straight out of match game.
Hey, this is kind of cool. This is our inaugural attempt at posting a show on our YouTube channel.
Well, I hope you get my good side. That's all I'm going to say. And again, we're first. You know, I should have Charlie Grady here talking to us. We were supposed to have the FBI here, but unfortunately, I had to pull out last minute this morning. But we're going to get them back in here for another one of these wonderful radio/internet sensation YouTube videos.
Yeah. Hey, you're kind of used to the camera. You didn't shy away when I said, "Hey, do you mind if we just do this for
you?"
YouTube?
The paparazzi love me.
I mean,
I'm telling you,
you wear a camera on your chest.
Yes, I do. It is mandated for all Connecticut agencies now, and the date was July 1st of 2023. All agencies that hadn't had it yet need to have it. So that was part of the Police Accountability Bill, which came into effect in 2020. We've been wearing them for over a year. Listen, I think it's one of the better.
Has it been helpful?
Listen, honestly, I think it's one of the better inventions in law enforcement technology since the implementation of the taser, and they're both for the same reason, is because it helps us get voluntary compliance. It lowers use of force incidents by the taser. Number one, everybody remembers, and this is where YouTube helped us. There was videos floating around when taser first started coming around of people being tased, and the tagline was "Don't tase me, bro," and people really understood that if there was resistance, they probably knew that the police were not going to shoot you with a firearm, but more than likely you probably would get tased, and they watch people take the ride, as Taser used to like to call it, for 5 seconds, the longest 5 seconds of your life, and they usually complied with commands, and we were able to take them into custody without having to use any force. I think the same thing is true of the body cameras. 99 times out of 100, it supports what the officer is doing and clarifies what the officer is doing. A lot of times we get complaints that are made that are not true and they're false, and they don't take into account the subject's activities.
Right.
So when people know they're being recorded and they know that it's something that can be viewed in a court of law, they're usually a little bit more calm, and they're a little bit more willing to listen to what our legal authority is. And we do have legal authority to place people into custody for breaking the law. Just because you don't like the police or you don't like what's being said to you doesn't mean that it's not lawful and it's not proper. And you must comply. Otherwise, the law authorizes us to use force to take you into custody. So we would always prefer not to use force. Any day we don't have to use force and we get the job done is a good day for us. So, I think the cameras have really been very helpful to us in helping people truly understand. Now, it does have its downside, too. We see it on the news all the time. You see a 2-second snippet of a 25-minute incident in which force is used. You don't see any of the incidences coming up to it and around it, and people jump to conclusions and they get emotional about it. So again, it does have some detractions. It's not the end-all, be-all for sure, but I think it's a very good addition to our law enforcement set of tools now, which is immense.
Yeah,
it's extremely immense. I went up to pick up I had to drop off my cruiser up at our upfitter in Middletown because some of the brackets on my storage box in the back had broken off, and we had a new patrol car ready to go. So I said, "Oh, don't worry about it, anybody. I'll just drop off my car. I'll bring the new patrol car back." And I got into the car. And I started. First of all, I was in a cockpit of an F-14. It was unbelievable. I had printers in there. I had cameras. I had computers. I had all this stuff around me. I put the car in the gear. I start driving. The camera comes on. All kinds of things are flashing and beeping. And I'm saying to myself, what the heck is going on, right? Yeah. Because when I first got on the job way back in 1989, folks, no, it wasn't horseback, but our car had a radio and a siren box, and that was it. Yeah. Right? There was no all this fancy stuff now, and now it's so high tech and so much technology and all the other pieces that come along with it. It just made me kind of reflect and say, wow, in the 33 years, look how far we really have come, and it's honestly like a horse and buggy going across, the Midwest out, taking the Oregon Trail out to the west versus going to the moon in a rocket. Yeah. It really is that much of a technology change.
And you're wearing body cams. Every cruiser has a cam as well?
Every marked cruiser also has to have a in-dash video camera. So we have full video dash-in cameras and body cams. Unfortunately, that was a big burden on a lot of municipalities. The state said, we're going to get, we have money allotted for it, which was like $4 million, which is garbage. Is nothing. So we were very lucky that we got in pretty early and had it paid for. But a lot of the things that came through in some of this legislation are unfunded mandates, and it's costing the towns.
Well, that's actually one of the things that you have to worry about is just balancing, making sure everything gets paid for. What does it do to your budget when gas prices exceed $5 a gallon?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge for my Marine Patrol. It cuts it to the ability of my Marine unit to be out there. Obviously, listen, our patrol vehicles are mission critical. We just have to absorb the cost, and we try and do that in creative ways. We try and manage our budget so we can put more over towards the fuel line, but it's difficult. Listen, it's very difficult, and the job has to be done, and certain parts of the job are mission critical, and you can't cut them back because that impacts delivery of service. And as much as everybody doesn't want to have us around, they don't want to have a diminished service either.
Yeah. We always this APB and the CRV started years ago as scam patrol. We were out there wanting to kind of just protect our area families from the threat coming in through the cyber doorway and transom, as it were. But you wanted to kind of broaden the net a little bit and cover more territory, and we kind of rebranded, and it's APB and the CRV, and it's been a great staple on our air. We usually start by just kind of covering what's on your call sheet. What are the calls coming in these days?
Well, I got to tell you, we're seeing a lot of really poor driving.
Yeah, what is up with that?
And everybody can go ahead and just say, yes, I see it every day too. But, how many of us are guilty of doing the same thing? So that's the other piece that we never want to revisit.
Right.
We like to point our finger at everybody else driving poorly, but we're probably doing some things ourselves that we shouldn't be doing. Anyway, listen, the state police are decimated. Their numbers are way down. You don't see any kind of enforcement on the highway. We just had a multiple car rollover 2 days ago here in Clinton on the highway. We're rolling up to the highway on a regular basis. We're seeing excessive speeding. We're seeing people, looking at their phones, distracted driving, which is hideous, folks. Everybody gets up in arms about drunk driving and how dare you and how could you and how all these other things. Distracted driving is just as dangerous, if not more, because everybody is engaged in it from 16 years old to 95 years old. They're looking at their phones. They're talking on their phones. They're not paying attention. It seems that traffic control signals now have become more or less, suggestions to the driver, not actual, law. We need to, and I think the whole thing is just everybody's gotten to a point post-pandemic here that, hey, you know what, I'm going to do, as long as I think it's okay, I'm going to do it, and I'm not gonna. It's not hurting anybody. Well, it doesn't hurt anybody until it does, and that's the problem. You start rolling through stop signs all the time, and you don't think about it, and it becomes natural. And next thing you know, one day the kid's driving through the bike, and you're not even clicking on it because you're thinking about what I'm going to make for dinner or when am I getting on the plane. And boom, you roll through the stop sign, you hit a kid, you cause an accident, maybe you take a life. Why don't we just slow it down? Because honestly, at the end of the day, all these violations that you're creating have saved maybe 2 minutes of your overall travel time. They really have. I mean, it's not, you're not driving cross country. You're not making big time here. You're just driving around the neighborhood, doing your normal thing. There's no way that you're going to pick up the amount of time that you think you're going to save.
It could be a life stage thing, but when you get older, sometimes you have the right to bitch and complain. So my thing is that lately I don't like driving at night, not because, and the truth is I'm not as comfortable as I used to be, but honestly it's because of the other person. But yesterday I was out there at midday, and count them, 3 people running. It was my light was green. I was given the thumbs up. 3 people buzzed through. It's almost like you have to anticipate the worst and deal with it that way.
And that is absolutely 100% correct. And that's what I tell my son who's driving. My daughter just got her permit. She's starting to drive, and I say, listen, at a green light, you don't go until the intersection is clear, because I see the same thing each and every day. 3, 4, 5 cars going through a red light. It's unsafe. And I think now you're seeing the absolute reverse of what's normal. You're seeing people stop now for the greens and they go for the reds. It's almost a complete reversal.
I know.
Because everybody just knows that so many people are running that light. And again, it's I think it's a sense of entitlement by everybody on the road that they feel that they can do whatever they want, and it's their road and they're going to drive how they want to do, and people should make accommodations for them. And that's not the way it works. That's not the way society works. We have rules of the road for a reason. They make travel more safe and efficient, and that's we got to get back to that, and people got to start understanding they got to give a very tiny little bit of their own personal wants and desires to say, okay, well, I'm part of a society here. I'm part of a community. I need to respect, other people's rights as well.
Got to ask, we talked about it last time you were here, sadly. We got to talk about it again. What is up with this wrong way driving?
Like I said, I think, again, it's distracted driving.
Is it always impaired, though?
No, it's not always impaired.
Sometimes it's distracted.
I would say most of the time it's distracted, because most of the time I think people are following their GPS. Now, up on the highway, I'm going to say 95% of that's alcohol or substances related, okay, to get on the wrong side of the highway. That's most of the time that's going to be alcohol involved, or you're going to have some type of dementia or some, mental faculties issues. But I think on a lot of these, regular town roads, people put in the Waze, they put in their Google Maps, and a lot of times it takes them down the wrong way. And the reason I say this is because you see that there's certain roads that are the continual violators. So it's either there's a glitch in the system and they're just following and they're not paying attention, they're not familiar with the area, they're driving down the wrong way. But as far as the highways, yes, that's a serious problem. And again, I think that's the majority of that is alcohol related.
We do a comedy program on you heard a little bit of it before.
I was loving it. Like I'm telling you, I'm a big fan of the dad jokes.
So thought of you, and actually was going to break this out on Connor, whom we looked forward to meeting. But we'll do it when Connor shows up.
He'll be here shortly.
So it's a cartoon, which is hard to make work on radio. But it's a young couple, man and wife, and the wife is sitting the husband down for a little bit of a talking to, a little bit of a lecture. And her thought bubble says, "You are gullible and financially irresponsible." She's adamant. She's yelling at him, and then his thought bubble about what he's about to say says, "Oh man, I'm gonna win her over. Wait till she hears I've won the Nigerian lottery."
Amen to that. Amen to that.
So that's my way of saying. Those are going around.
That's a great segue. And obviously, I brought some. I ran the IC3 report for Connecticut for 2021, and again, it's a heavy hit year for us. We lost almost $75 million.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's and the scams are huge. They had 26 reported to IC3. So it wasn't too bad. Only $42,726 in loss there. Some of it was recovered. The big thing that we're really seeing lots and lots and lots of are the business email compromise and the email account compromise.
Yeah.
Those are huge, huge, huge. And that's probably our big one here in the state of Connecticut. Looking at over $1.5 million.
Is that the DocuSign? How much?
Over $1.5 million in losses. 1.6 million in losses just in the business email and the email compromise.
And a lot of that it can take on various formats, but one of them that's popular these days is that DocuSign thing.
Yes, the DocuSign. Unfortunately, I mean, we are seeing so many spear phishing attacks as opposed to phishing attacks. I think we've kind of got everybody aware of a phishing attack, right? So a phishing attack is just a mass email, right? You just go out, you blast out an email with a link on it. Hopefully somebody clicks on it and they start giving you personal information and you collect it. Same thing as sitting in a boat in the middle of Long Island Sound. You throw out some bait. You hope something's going to bite. Spear phishing is a more directed attack, okay? And a lot of these business email compromises and email account compromises are spear phishing attacks. That is, they garner some type of personal information about you, about your company, and they direct their attack specifically to you, again, to build that confidence, right? So you have an understanding. They may garner some information off the internet about your company's website. They may go on your Facebook page, garner information about you, and then they're going to send you an email purporting that they know things about you and it's geared towards you. Specifically in the business email compromise, they're trying to say a lot of times it's I'm going to purport to be the CEO of the company. You may be the financial director. I need you to wire X number of dollars right away. We're closing a deal. I'm over here in Switzerland, wherever I am. So those really have become insanely large. We've had a couple of municipalities actually caught up in them here in Connecticut. We've had some companies, municipalities in Connecticut as well, fall victim to ransomware, and shut down. So they've had all their systems shut down. They've had to pay a ransom to get all their computer systems.
Is that usually the recourse that is chosen, is to pay it off?
A lot of times it is, because if you had poor security to begin with, and they were able to compromise your servers and get control of your systems. If your business, and most businesses now rely on e-commerce, right? I mean, I was just down at in Bridgeport, see Steely Dan last week, and they're cashless. You can't.
Yeah,
they don't accept cash. Everything is cashless. I was out in Cleveland, same thing. The hotel, the Hilton out there in downtown Cleveland, you can only pay with a card. So that's all electronic commerce. So you get that system shut down, you don't know if they're siphoning off dollars from it. You can't bring in any income. You have to make a business decision at some point. All right, do we vet this out? Do we shut it all down? Do we rebuild it? How much is that going to cost? And unfortunately, it's like a lot of civil lawsuits. The person may be dead wrong who brought the lawsuit, right. But at the end of the day, you're going to look at, all right, what's the actual cost? And it's the cost of doing business. Is it cheaper just to pay it and get it back? Or, should we fight it? So as much as we'd like to, stick with Ronnie Reagan and say we don't deal with terrorists and we don't do business with terrorists, unfortunately, sometimes that needs to be the way they go, and the business decision is made that they go ahead and pay that.
Got to put it out there. A new one came to us. It was sent to LRB, and it was from what appeared to be from the electric company. And it was saying, in going through our records, we found that the one invoice went unpaid. Click here to see a copy of the invoice. Well, that's the click that they're looking for.
That's the click. So, again, and I think we're getting to the point now where we're seeing, the proliferation.
There you go. Coffee will kick in.
We're getting there slowly but surely. Yeah, we're seeing so much of this that I think at this point you have to just, anything that's coming over, into your mailbox, and that be your physical mailbox on the street or your email box in your computer, that's asking you for money or is telling you to do something, you need to just question it at this point, because they're killing the market after. Post-COVID, we are just seeing a huge amount of all these attacks. So if you get notified by something, immediately question it. You have to question it. And again, we say this all the time, right? These scams are meant to work to your socialization, what you're used to, and what seems normal. And they send out so many of them, and they contact so many people. There's so many opportunities that somebody's going to be tired. Somebody didn't have their coffee. Somebody had a bad night. Somebody's in the middle of screaming at their daughter or their son, and they're having an argument. And then they go in there. Now they're trying to calm down. They're looking at their computer and they're like, oh my God, I better get this straight. And they click on it. Can't do that. we've got to really watch especially anything. Never click a link that you didn't ask for, okay, that you didn't search for yourself. If it's being sent to you through an email, don't click it. There's nobody should send you an email that requires you to click to another site. It's just the chances of you being scammed or getting malware or spyware downloaded into your computer from a single click is astronomically high. So don't take that risk. Again, it's like we don't want you to live your life in fear, but we don't want you to be a victim. And right now, the chances of you being a victim are extremely high because of the number of threats that are out there facing everybody.
I was using a different browser than what I normally use on my computer, and at the end of the session, on the landing page for the browser, a pop-up came up saying that, and then it listed 3 specific accounts that I have passwords for. So these passwords for these accounts have been compromised. Click here to re-enter the new passwords. Yeah. And it's like, I take this the right way. I thought it was brilliant. From a criminal point of view, it was brilliant, because most people sit there saying, well, that's part of my browser and my browser's there to protect me, so it's got to be good. But
No, and that's exactly what they're doing. Everything now is being cloned to look like something trustworthy, like something that comes with you. I got up the past 2 mornings. I got up and the first thing I see on my phone in the morning is your memory is almost full on this. Click here to clean out your memory on your iPhone. I'm like, I don't think so, right? I don't think so. And that's first thing in the morning. That's like 5:30 in the morning. I'm looking at it's going, but see, I'm jaded. So I'm like, but it looks exactly like my Apple icon. It's up in the mid screen, and I'm like, well, I go and I check my memory. Gee, my memory is really not that bad. So I don't think I'm not going to be able to take pictures, and I don't think I'm not going to be able to do my banking and all the other things that it's telling me that it's going to do, right? Because there's little triggers in there. If this keeps up, you won't have enough memory to take photographs anymore, and you won't have enough memory to, possibly browse the internet at the speed that you wish. Blah blah blah. They're very sophisticated.
Which segment of our community do we have to worry about more? The youngsters who are trusting and are willing to give data on a regular basis, who may not look at things or think things through, are used to clicking on things, or the elderly who are just not as alert necessarily, not as computer savvy?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Dave.
Like, hey, did we rehearse this?
This is perfect. See, I mean, like I said, we don't need we don't need to have pre-production meetings anymore. So, according to in 2021, according to IC3, which is the Internet Computer Crimes Clearing Center run by the FBI, our under 20s are the superstars of being aware. All right, only 139 fell victim. Amount of loss, $674,000. Goes up from there. Our 30 to 39s, they lost over $22 million. Our 40 to 49s, $9 million, but there was 850 actual incidents there. Our 50 to 59, 609 counts there. They lost almost $13 million. They were the biggest ones. And then over 60, 889 reports, and they lost $12.7 million. So obviously it's our younger people that are a little bit more aware. But again, you got to look at this from the operational battlefield, right? I mean, they don't have any money. So,
right.
The 50s and the 60s, that's where we're seeing all the attacks, and that's where we're seeing the big losses because they have the funds. So, right. Target-rich environment. I'm not going to go fishing in the mill pond where I know they dumped chemicals for 47 years and there's nothing living in there. I'm going to go out to the nice to Long Island Sound here on the change of the tide when there's lots of bait in the water, where I know I got a lot of chances of catching some big fish.
Yeah, makes sense. If you're just joining us on iCRV Radio, Chief DeMaio comes in from Clinton PD to do APB in the CRV, the Connecticut River Valley, as we cast a net as broadly as we can to make sure that we can get the intel, get the 411 before threats hit our doorstep, our literal doorstep, or our figurative, our cyber doorstep, because that's really the best way of prevention is getting the information out before somebody, because afterwards, it's too late.
Correct. And that's what we said. Even when we started this program 5.5 years ago, I think. I mean, we've been at it for a long time. And at some point, as an old training guy, I was a training officer for several years in my old department. And we used to always say in training, after a while, you understand, what the training is going to be. What we're going to tell you, but it's got to be reiterated. Same thing with church, right? You know what the message is going to be every Sunday when you go, but you got to go and keep hearing it. And we got to continue to get the message out to people because it's getting worse. It's not going away. This is the criminal wave of the future. I mean, we're seeing violence in the street, and there's a big spike in violent crime across the country, but there's a huge spike as well in cybercrime, and all these different scams. And again, when we break down the scams, they're all basically confident scams. They all, no matter what the variants are, how they're being gotten in front of you, either through electronic means, through sales calls, through telephone calls, through your mail, through individuals coming knocking on your door, whatever it may be. It's all the same thing. They are trying to gain your confidence so they can get a hold of your personal information and compromise you. Take your money, take your things that are important to you, take the things that belong to you. And we need to get everybody out there in the CRV and everywhere to understand that your personal information now is the most valuable asset that you have. It's more valuable than your stocks. It's more valuable than your cryptocurrency, which is another huge one, by the way. Huge, gigantic losses, $43 billion last year, cryptocurrency compromise, $43 billion. I don't even understand cryptocurrency. To me, it's all a pyramid scheme, but that's my personal opinion. Anyway, lots of people do it, and are losing lots of money, and it's huge. And that's a huge target rich environment for our scammers. They're really hammering people on these, the logic chains and the blockchains and all the other pieces of cryptocurrency, moving that over. So $43 billion loss last year. So again, guard your personal information. That's what the criminals want. They don't want to come into your house and steal your gold, or they don't want to steal your silver flatware or your television. They can get Amazon to deliver that for dirt cheap now to their door. They don't need it. What they want is that personal information so they can have Amazon bring really expensive things to your house, and they can go over to the Lamborghini dealership and rock down somebody's stolen platinum credit card and drive off the lot with a nice Lambo.
So we're nearing towards fall's going to get here eventually.
I think it showed up this morning.
Yeah, it was kind of nice this morning. And with that, high school and junior high campuses will start to get populated. What are your fears what are your concerns? What's on the hit list in terms of things that keep you up at night relative to the coming of the school year?
Well, we're always concerned about the school year starting up, getting kids back together. We're worried about the cyberbullying. That's always a concern of ours. I'm really worried about, like I said, I'm seeing horrible driving everywhere. That concerns me. Little children, especially, our elementary school and our middle school age kids, a lot of times they're not paying attention. And we really need to be cautious and careful around schools. And I don't see that. I see a lot of people just driving through, again, looking at their phone. They're not paying attention. We need to be aware of that, folks. School's starting here in Connecticut in another 2 weeks. So it's either going to start the last week of August, early September. So in your community, these young children are going to start getting back to school. They're excited. They're nervous. There's all kinds of things. They're not paying attention. You really need to take some time, slow down, and pay attention, not just around the schools, but they walk. A lot of kids walk. A lot of kids ride their bike. Pay attention to your surroundings, please. We'd hate to see any of these kids get hurt on the way to school. I am working on actually implementing a new program. We had talked about getting an emotional support dog for our agency. They're becoming quite popular in the state of Connecticut. There's a group called Puppies Behind Bars, and they train these emotional support dogs and then donate them to police departments across the country. Connecticut currently has, I believe, 6, and we put in for one, but unfortunately we did not get one. We were denied because of the handler that we put in has a dog at home, and they didn't want. They were afraid that would cause some anxiety in their emotional support dog. So we're looking at another dog to do that, and I would put that with my SRO. So I'll have an emotional support dog inside my school system. talked it over with Superintendent O'Donnell and our principal, Carrie Hagnes, at the Morgan School. It'd be kind of unique in that the dog is there for not only my personnel as a kind of stress reliever for them, which I'm an old school guy, and my training was always suck it up, Buttercup, and if you got problems and you got issues, suck it up and move on. The job needs to get done. So I obviously was a little harder. Convinced
to
that
get you on board.
I thought,
walk me through it. Give me a use case scenario.
So basically, listen, police officers see horrendous things all through their career. Most people see one or two. How many dead bodies have you seen?
Yeah, one.
Yeah. Exactly. We could see 2-3 a week, and through hideous circumstances and dismemberments and all other things, and we see the evil things that people do to each other. And after a while, really, it starts to wear on you. And we're really working on the wellness piece here. I think it's important for us to make sure that our first responders have good mental health, have good physical health, because that is going to help them overcome all the stressors and the things that detract and take away from their ability to do the job properly. A stressed out police officer, somebody who's suffering, who's depressed, who's seen too much, who's quick to anger, developing anger management issues, those aren't the people that we need to have out in the street, especially in today's environment where there's a real sense of we don't need to listen to anything we're told by anybody. And that just doesn't apply to the police. I think everybody is very curt these days. I think we're losing a lot of civility, and we're losing a lot of just actual civility amongst people. It's really, I think it's a problem that we need to address. But anyway, the support dog is there. You have a tough call, we can bring the dog in. We can also bring the dog in to de-escalate certain situations. I mean, there's certain things that, people are silly with dogs. And I've seen big, burly, huge, hulking cops that are just tough as nails, down on the floor, rolling around with the dog, enjoying the dog. Same thing we do if we're dealing with somebody who maybe is very resistant to dealing with us as police officers. We can bring that dog in, and not like a canine where we're going to release the canine and forcibly take you into custody. Well, maybe we could talk you down, and you see the dog there, and it just kind of brings everybody's blood pressure down.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I think it's another outreach tool for us as well. A lot of people aren't going to approach us in uniform, but if you're sitting there with the dog and not a canine dog, I mean, Sonny's a very different animal, right? He's not your typical police canine.
And a different purpose.
Correct. And he's, a lot of his job description is actually PR. So, and he's very approachable. Yeah. 99 out of 100 police canines are not that way. You can't go near them because they'll eat through the car door to get out and bite you, because that's their drive, and that's the training that they have, is because they want to work, and to them that's work. They want to get out, and they're not pets. They're not mascots. Right. Sonny came through a very different training path. So, he was trained as a guide dog first. So he has a different level of tolerance for people. And he can turn the switch on and off. And our handler, Corporal Fry, does a great job in managing that. But the emotional support dog is completely different from that. Their purpose is simply just to help de-escalate, calm things down, give people an emotional release that they wouldn't otherwise have. So it works great for my people, and I'm always concerned about the health and welfare of my officers. I need to do everything I can to try and make their life less stressful and ease them. But it's also a great format for us to reach out to the community in a very different way, in the ways that the community is now expecting their police to connect with them. And it's a huge piece. Accountability, transparency, building relationships. Those are all the buzzwords now, again, because everything comes full circle, right? We'll be wearing bell bottoms again before we die,
I won't.
Dave. Oh, we will. Trust me. We will. You'll be saying, "Hey, Ben looks pretty good in those bell bottoms. Where'd you get those, kid?" So it all comes back around. And again, it's building relationships. And this is just another opportunity for us as police officers to build the relationships with the community that are mission critical to us. We can't perform our services if the community doesn't trust us and the community doesn't give us that authority. We can't do our job without that. So this just helps us at another level, and a smaller niche, yes, but a very important niche, allowing people to come up and see us. I have a mall in my town which brings about 4 million people a year. Yeah. I put my officer up there walking around with that dog. I guarantee you I'm going to have thousands of positive contacts. Yeah. And every single one of those counts.
I don't see how one dog's enough. You should have one dog with your dispatch office every day.
Yeah,
the stress those guys go through.
So it's been. Again, we talk about budgeting. We talk about all the costs and the costs of the taxpayer. Listen, Connecticut is a very expensive place to live, and my town fathers, they want to keep my budget as thin as they possibly can, and I fully respect and understand that. Listen, people are paying a lot of taxes. These are difficult times, so I've already lined up a good number of sponsors for this, and this will be another one of my programs that is done in partnership with the community. People providing us with the funds to bring this program to fruition.
Doing it at the school has to be brilliant. Do you have models around the country where that's been successful, or are you going to be one of the first?
We like being trailblazers.
Yeah, good for you, man.
Listen, I like to think outside the box, and that didn't come. That came again as a necessity. My town fathers didn't want me to add another vehicle to the fleet, and they didn't want certain things. They didn't have the money to pay for it. So I've got to be creative. My SRO already has a vehicle, so it's not going to cause me to put another vehicle in the fleet. My SRO is already an individual who is basically like a human emotional support dog. He's just a great guy. Very, very emotionally stable, very calming, very caring. Listens. I mean, he's not like, he's not, I always tell him, I say, Brian, you're not like your boss, because I'm Italian. I'm a flash to anger guy. That I feel anger first, especially in a conflict. I feel anger first, but I have to tamp that down, and I've become very good at it. But it's not his natural reaction is much different, which is much better. His natural reaction is, let me truly understand. And that's a gift that many people, I mean, very, very few people in this world possess. So he's a great handler. And again, I have the benefit of having a great relationship with our school system. A lot of times the school system and the police department do not get along very well. And there's a lot of resistance to it. We saw that not too long ago with our own senator trying to, ban SROs from schools and everything else. And everybody said how crazy that was. And thank God we're starting to see that come back now to say, hey, this is a necessity these days, okay? We're still doing fire drills. Nobody in this country has died in a school fire since 1954. We have school shootings pretty much at least every month. We need that SRO in there. And if they had bothered to ask the school systems, 99% of them would have said, no, our SROs are great, and they do great work with our kids. They make us feel safe. They're doing the job that needs to be done. But it wasn't. It was political, and now that blew up in his face, and now we're coming back to see that, no, we need to have the right people in there. It's like everything else. Round pegs for round holes, right? You got to put everybody in the right seat on the bus. You can't put your angriest, crotchetiest guy who has no kids, who hates kids, as your SRO. That's not a good fit, right? Yeah. You got to find the guy who's got kids, or he wants to be a coach, or he coaches basketball, and he's got the skill set to deal with that demographic. And it's just a matter of proper staffing, doing the right thing. So I think us having it in there will become a model for others. I think it really is.
What do you rotate your SROs out of a specific school and put them into another environment? Do you every 2, 3, 4 years?
Yeah, basically every 4 years. I like to rotate the SRO. I think it's just with anything else, complacency. You start to fall into a routine, and it's just I need to develop staff. So that's one point. And the people that do that job, again, that's a big piece moving forward in the supervisory chain, to have to manage all those different personalities, all the different rules and regulations, and everybody's different vision. I think that is a little microcosm of how you have to manage things as you move up the chain in the supervisory ranks, from first line supervisor to, middle management to executive level. That's a huge piece. So, and I like to expose different people to different jobs. It's tough to push a car, for 10 years in a row, and all you're doing is pulling cars over, the same cars constantly for speeding and going through red lights and answering calls that, that neighbor's an idiot because his cat peed on my lawn and I hate him and his light shining in my eyes. It gets, after a while, you start to question, okay, why am I doing this job? So you have to give people some job satisfaction as well. And I think it's always good. Listen, you got to put a fresh set of eyes on things, bring a fresh perspective to it and a new approach. And I think you always will advance the ball if you do that.
Hey, if people are listening or watching and they want to, contribute, are you taking donations from the general public to bring in this emotional support dog?
We're always taking donations, and I want everybody to know that any money that you put towards a specific program is earmarked specifically for that program. So I don't take your money. You want to give it to the emotional support dog, I don't put it into something else like, SWAT or some other thing, which we don't even have. But anyway, I have specific accounts set up with finance, which are earmarked, and all that money that you give to a specific program goes exactly to that program. So if you do want to give us a donation, which we greatly would appreciate, just write down emotional support dog program in the memo line, and I make sure that all that money goes specifically to that program. DARE, Police Youth Group, RAD. I've got a number. I think at this point I'm up to about 9 specific programs that are funded outside of my municipal budgeting process, and those are all my proactive programs that really try, and strengthen our community outreach and our community bonds.
And it sounds like the town's responding.
Absolutely. And listen, there's so many. We have great relationships with Families Helping Families, with the Clinton Rotary Club, with the Clinton Lions, and we all have the same mission. So why, they have an ability to give me some funding to help deliver the product, and it's all the same mission. It intertwines together, but a lot of people are resistant to that. I'm very lucky that my police commission is very supportive of that idea, and we're showing great results. We're achieving great results with it. And there's always, listen, whenever you're taking some private funds into the police department, you always run the risk of an inference of impropriety or some type of favoritism to a certain group, and that it doesn't happen with us. But that's the downside, which I think scares a lot of people away.
Yeah. Hey, we got more to cover. You mind if we just take a little pause in the action and thank some of the merchant partners that help us do what we do here at iCRV Radio? And we got more with the chief, more APB and the CRV coming up right after this.
Doing good things for a better today and a brighter tomorrow for all comes in all ages, all sizes, and all interests. Hello, I'm Cynthia Clegg of the Community Foundation of Middlesex County. We connect worthy causes with valued donors. Through support for local nonprofits who make our towns a little bit better every day, through partnerships with small businesses who want to make a difference, through volunteers who reach out and give a hand up, through community members who put their hearts and dollars to work to improve the quality of life for all, now and forever. Even the smallest gift can have great impact through charitable funds that support animal welfare, arts and culture, health and social services, the environment, education, economic security, recreation, and so much more. Learn how you can help our local community thrive. Visit us online at middlesexcountycf.org or call us at 860-347-0025. Live local, give local at the Community Foundation of Middlesex County. Thank you.
By now, we all know there's an opioid crisis in Connecticut. It's in the news, it's in our communities, and it's in every part of the state. In fact, chances are that anyone listening to this message knows someone whose life has been affected by opioids. But it's time to change the script. Changing the script on opioid misuse starts with knowing 3 things. 1, it can be prevented. More than half of it starts with loose pills, so know how to store opioids properly. 2, it can be treated. There are new approaches to the problem that are effective, so talk to your doctor. And 3, recovery is possible. So learn about the recovery community in Connecticut. Changing the script on opioid misuse starts with knowing where to turn. So go to drugfreect.org for more information. Drugfreect.org has help for practically any opioid issue you may be facing. Drugfreect.org. It's where you can change the script on opioid misuse.
Welcome back to APB and the CRV. Chief DeMaio comes in from Clinton PD and does the program. Been 5+ years that you've been doing
yes, sir.
Taking over the microphones.
I think I was one of the original. I think I was one of the originals. I could be one of the 5 musketeers here.
yeah. And he is in the inaugural attempt of us trying to launch our YouTube channel. So thanks for
Hey, listen, I'm happy to be here. You know, it's been a great partnership for us. I hope it's working for you.
Absolutely.
And it's a great platform for us to continually get the message out, to make people safe, to make our community safer. You're a great outreach tool, and we really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you and now be on YouTube.
Yeah, we were
everybody out there in.
We were going to have Connor Phoenix come in from the FBI cyber threat task force. You work hand in hand with the FBI. I mean, on a daily basis.
We're very fortunate in Connecticut. We're a very small state, and the New Haven office is very supportive of local law enforcement. As a matter of fact, I'm taking over as president of the Connecticut chapter of the FBI National Academy Associates in December. I'm currently the vice president. So we do a lot of work with them. We have constant contact with them. We have really good contacts with them. And whenever we need, they never turn us away. They're always ready for us whenever we pick up the phone. So unfortunately, we were hoping to have him today, but October is Cyber Safety Awareness Month. So we'll make sure that we get him in here for that. Yeah. And I also talked to our good friend Charlie Grady. He wants to get their hate crimes individual in here as well. Yeah. And we can spend some time talking about those 2 items of massive importance. But unfortunately, they had to pull out last minute this morning, and it's the FBI. I don't ask. I don't ask why. They just tell me they can't come. I just go, okay.
Yeah. That's good enough for me.
I've learned after all these years, you don't ask anymore. My wife would ask a million questions, but I don't ask anymore.
Everybody's having a hard time. The restaurant community in particular getting hit hard with trying to man a workforce. They're trying to get people to take jobs. They got positions they're willing to pay, but they're finding it hard to fill the positions. Are you in the same boat?
Oh God, yeah. Unfortunately, knock on wood, in Clinton, I've been very fortunate. I'm one of the few departments on the shoreline that have been able to stay fully staffed. I've got a great workforce. We've got a pretty good work schedule. Our pay is not the best, but we have some good benefits, and I think we have a good work environment. And who wouldn't want to work for this guy?
Yeah,
really?
Exactly. Yeah.
But we are seeing a nationwide crisis in recruitment. I'm also president of the South Central Chiefs of Police, and so that is the 21 police departments of the greater New Haven area. And we have a South Central Criminal Justice Agency runs all of our testing processes for entry-level recruits. And normally we would run 4 tests a year. That was because we'd have 600, 700, 800 per session. We've improved our number from 2021. This last section, now we've opened it up. We don't even close it anymore. We just try and get as many. When we feel we have enough people or we need to give more tests, we just give a test. But after 2021, our director, Dr. Sherwood, told me, well, we got 31 applicants for 31 police departments pulling off of that list. We've improved that slightly. We went to 51 for this year. Our last number was 51. Now, when I got this job in 1989, it was honestly like winning the lottery. When I took the state police test, my recruit number for testing number was 1296, and I was out of like 7,500 applicants for one recruit class of 25 people.
Right.
I took the Stanford police test. I was the second test of the day. The entire line wrapped around Stanford High School twice.
Yeah.
And it's a massive building. It's not like a one-room schoolhouse. So we are really, really hurting. And I was just talking to somebody the other day. I noticed Idaho, I believe, has now reduced the qualification. You no longer have to have an associate's degree to apply. They just brought it back down to a a high school diploma. And so I understand the methodology of needing to fill holes because we don't have anybody applying. So retention now is going to be the key. We really have to retain the people that we have on staff because we can't replace them. And then what happens is we still have to deliver a product. We still have to have minimum staffing. We still have to have a response capability. So the people that remain are getting burned out because now you're working your tail off. You can't get a day off. We keep ordering you in to work shifts. And it eats up that workforce. So I think the problem is, though, we need to really start understanding, and this is I was talking to this yesterday with our friends from the Center for Policing Equity, that we can't lower the standard. We need to find programs that are going to prepare people to be police officers and help them get to that point where, why can't we have something like the GI Bill, right? We'll pay for your college education, but you have to be a police officer for 6 years or 8 years. And if you don't do it, then you got to pay the government back. I don't care what it is that your degree is in. It makes no difference to me, and it never did. When I was hiring people, there's things that you have to bring to the table for me. You've got to bring a moral compass. You got to bring character, and you got to bring integrity. I can't teach you that. I can reinforce that. I can't teach. If you're not bringing it to the table, I can't impart that to you. Right. I can certainly reinforce it, and I reinforce it all the time. But the issue of, the college degree to me is it's not what you went. It was just you're exposed to a much broader spectrum. You understand that there are people that think different from you. There are people with different cultures than you. There are people that have different viewpoints from you. And that's all fine. But if you're coming out of the high school bubble where everything's a little clique and it's this little demented microcosm of human society, which basically is like Lord of the Flies, that's not a good perspective to come from. Yeah. And you haven't been exposed to the things you need to be exposed to. So when I ran testing and recruitment in New Canaan, I required you either had to have an associate's degree or you had to have 2 years of military experience. And again, it didn't matter if you're you were just an E1 and you never made it past an E1 in the military, or you had a degree in basket weaving. It didn't much matter to me. I just wanted you exposed to a broader spectrum of outside your little hometown, outside your classes in your high school, which may have only been 15 people. Yeah. Honestly, you went to a little private school or something. You're not exposed to the things that you need to be exposed to and have that broader field of vision. And that's an absolute requirement for this job. You need to understand that we are going to contact a broad spectrum of people, and you have to be able to understand where they're coming from and act accordingly.
Because there's a lot of Connecticut bashing that going around. It seems to be popular these days. I want to underscore this. This is not a Connecticut problem solely. This is a national problem.
This is a 100% national issue. We have been demonized. We have been just really painted in a poor light by the mass media. And listen, we own it. I don't think it's fair, and I don't think it's right, but it doesn't matter. I need to own it, and I need to fix it. And we need to do a much better job in law enforcement and getting out the positive, getting out our message, getting out what we do every day. We have good, solid men and women of all races, creeds, persuasions working for us, and we're all here for the same. The overwhelming majority of all of us are here for the same reason. We're here to help. We're here to serve. All right. So if you take one or two bad apples in the country and try and poison the whole bunch, it's not the truth. Okay. And I think people are starting to see that. So we really need to get to a point where we can attract good people. And normally, and the thing that hurts me now is that this is the time when the economy is so poor that this was our classic time of getting really quality people into this profession. Because, listen, you're not going to make a fortune, but you're pretty insulated. It's a nice insulator against inflation. You're going to have an income. You're going to have a roof over your head. You're going to be able to feed your family. You're going to be able to do those things through the ups and downs. Listen, when it's peak and the stock market guys are, flying to Italy just for lunch and then flying back on their own private jets, you're not going to experience that part of it. But when it crashes and they're jumping off the 19th floor, you're still going to be pretty steady. So, but we're not seeing that now. We are not seeing the people applying to this job, and we have to, at a national level, really get the message out that this is still it's the greatest profession. If you do this right, it's the greatest profession in the world. You can have such a positive influence on so many people's lives, and you can have such a positive impact in times of despair that, and it's staffed with wonderful, wonderful people.
Got to lead by example in the minutes that we have left, and that is to leave it on a high note. Some good stuff. We always have a good story or something that's made you happy. Something. Give me something.
I got to tell you, like I said, I went to Cleveland, right, for the NA National Convention, and I cannot believe what a good time I had out there. I mean, just talking about, again, your colleagues and just people of such high caliber, and just people that you just meet them and you felt like you know them your entire life. Now, I'm not saying that somebody was probably up on the stage with the band at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame singing and dancing. And there is video of it, which I hope isn't going to surface at an inopportune time, but holy smoke, it was a great time. Just met great people and just came back so reinvigorated to do my job and to make sure that I'm delivering the best services that I can to both my community and my officers, making sure that I'm taking care of them, making sure that their world is good. And again, trying to look at, we have major problems facing law enforcement, but I know when I get out there with that group of 1,700 other individuals that have graduated from the FBI National Academy down in Quantico, that we have the ability and we have the talent and we've got the people that can really turn the tide here and make this a positive difference. And I just felt so charged up with that. And then I felt separation anxiety when I came home. I was all by myself again. I was like, oh man, I really miss my friends now. So, but no, that's a good thing. My boy's off to school, so we're getting ready to send him, and he's ready for the next phase of life. So excited for him. But my heart and my head are in two different places. I know it's great for him in my head, and it's pulling on my heartstrings a little bit. But listen, it's just great. It's great to be alive, and I just love doing this job. I still love it after 33 years, and God willing, I keep doing it, and hopefully I make a positive difference.
We got to give a shout out to the Bad Pennies and thank them for letting us have their theme song.
And that is the greatest bit of the day. How could you not smile with the Bad Pennies, folks?
Chief DeMaio comes in from Clinton PD and shares his passion for our area and his expertise in looking out after us and making sure that we're around safely, our families are safe, and we wish you safety and good health and all your colleagues as well, and appreciate what you guys do. Thanks for being part of iCRV Radio.
Thank you. And a shout out to my bud LRB. Can't let that go.